Hi, I'm Parneet Jaggi, and this video is going to be about Anglo-Indian writing. Now, when we talk about our history of Indian writing in English, this is the first thing that comes to mind. What is Anglo-Indian writing? And what does the term Anglo-Indian actually mean? So, Anglo Indian has come to mean those Indian citizens, one of whose ancestors from a male line was a European by birth. Anglo Indian literature, in this sense, refers to the literature created by the people of mixed Indo European descent. However, in the 19th and early 20th century, the word Anglo Indian had a completely different meaning. At that time, this word was used by the British community residing in India to describe themselves, while Eurasian was the word used by them to describe the people of so called mixed racial descent. So, Anglo Indian literature is the literature of these British expatriates and, as such, a branch of British colonial literature on India. Living in proximity to the colonial contact zone, the Anglo Indian authors of that time possessed direct first hand knowledge of India. And as a result, their works tended to be more realistic, albeit more insipid than the fanciful creation of the metropolitan authors. So we find more realism in these authors because they had the first hand experience of life in India because they had spent some time here during the British imperial rule. Anglo Indian literature enjoyed its golden age during the first 3 decades of the 20th century, but expired soon after with the independence of India in 1947. While British expatriates continue to write on India, the particular colonial relations which influenced and shaped Anglo Indian literature is now gone forever. So we see that as a subgenre of Anglo Indian literature, Anglo Indian novel actually never got popular beyond a small circle. For the very reason that it is now gone, because it could not be very popular for several reasons, which we are going to discuss in the coming slides. When we talk about its origin, how do we all start analyzing where did this word Anglo-Indian originate? So we see that it originated in 1785 with the anonymously published The Disinterested Nabob. It continued to exist till the late 20th century. And this term was used as early as 1883 to describe a volume called Specimen Compositions by Native Students that was printed in Calcutta. So these were the beginnings where we see that the term Anglo-Indian and the concept and the work Anglo-Indian literature came into scene. Now, what are the writers that we cover under this domain or genre? We have writers such as William Jones. We also discussed Jones in the topic Renaissance in India because he was one such pioneer who came with the Britishers, was a polyglot, did a lot of translation work in India, translated Abhigyan Shakuntalam, formed the Asiatic Bengal Society. So he played an important role in pioneering this Anglo Indian literature. Then we have writers like John Lydon, Sir Edwin Arnold. Edwin Arnold's translation of the Bhagavad Gita is very famous till date because he reached out to the West with this great Indian epic. We have Meadows Taylor, we have F.W. Bain. They are the writers who lived in India for several years and used the English language to give expression to their ideas about India. However, we notice that the works of Rudyard Kipling and E.M. Forster are more widely recognized. Now, when we talk of Kipling and Forster, we talk of novel. And we notice that apart from the works of a few authors like Kipling and Orwell and Forster, the productions of the majority of Anglo-Indian novelists were of aesthetically poor quality, and hence it perished very soon from the scene. Because we notice that the details of in most of these novels, the details of these novels could not attract too many readers of the English scene. In most of these novels, the Indians were presented in a very harsh light, and they kind of antagonized the Indians. They showed Indians either as slaves, as objects of sympathy, or as villains, as unpleasant creatures. And moreover, the appeal of the exotic with which the Anglo Indian novelists tried to allure the British readers failed to attract the Indians. Because we notice that the description of Indian life and manners were not only commonplace and banal to the Indians, but there were also gross inaccuracies in the presentation of these details. So we see there were a number of reasons why this interest in the Anglo Indian novels began to lose among the Indian readers, especially. Although we see that there is a revival of interest again around in 1980s, but then it could not revive that much. We have a few essays, we have a few novels also, which can be talked among the Anglo-Indian literature of the 1980s. For example, we have Mishra's The Rajan fiction. We have these novels, Amal Chatterjee's representation of India. We see the revival of interest in Anglo-Indian literature in these works, but on the whole, uh, these works also drew heavily on the writings of colonial discourse analysis. So we see a substantial bent of interest of the Indian readers specifically towards the writings of the Indian writers rather than the Anglo-Indian writers. So this was how Anglo-Indian writing came into scene and went away very early with the leaving of the British. So, this was a brief overview of what is Anglo Indian writing and how it perished very soon with the going of the British. So, thank you for now.